everyone, welcome back to the third week of OZV Live. Tonight we have a more adults and rover orientated show. So we've got Cameron Letta, our OZV ambassador once again.
Hey guys.
We've got Kate from New South Wales contingent.
Hey.
And we've got the legendary Gary Steinhardt back again from Victoria.
G'day everyone.
Now, before we break into the show and we start asking some of your questions, we've just got to clarify that, yes, the event is still going ahead. We've got no news at the moment to suggest that it's not going to, and signs are looking really positive, especially with international travel to places like New Zealand. So if you're a bit worried about that, at this point in time, we 100% foresee the event going ahead, and we're really excited to see all of you in January. We've also had a few different questions about the Whitsundays expedition, and we're going to get that information to you next week. We're having a Whitsundays show, and it's going to cover the whole expedition. It's going to talk about cost. It's going to talk about the itinerary and really just flesh out what you can expect for our replacement for Fiji. So if you're really interested in that, tune in next week, and we will be able to give you a really comprehensive look at our new expedition. Now, Gary, you've been to pretty much every venture since the start of ventures. How did you get into ventures originally?
Well, actually, the first venture I went to was, show my age now, was 1974, which was at not Cataract Park, was at Cottarat in ACT, and I was just 18 and 3 months, and I was a service leader for that venture.
What did you do?
What did I do? I actually was in supply, so I was giving out equipment for the activities for the venture or the whole venture. Now, I actually didn't do an expedition. It was the same format what has it been throughout the decades afterwards. So I actually was staying on site the whole time and getting things ready for when the youth came back to phase 2. So yeah, very interesting.
Thank you, Gary. Now, Kate, you've been to a few ventures before. What's your venture experience like?
I've attended the New Zealand venture in 2016, and I went back in 2019 as the assistant contingent leader. I loved both opportunities for different reasons. I loved being a participant and doing all the activities, and I loved contributing to creating experience for other venturers.
Thank you. And Cameron, you were on the show last week.
Yes.
You haven't been to a venture before, but you've run plenty of events as a rover. What do you enjoy most about being a rover and taking the time to lead an activity?
I think probably one of the most fulfilling parts about being involved in an event or running an event is at the end is sort of talking to people and them sort of telling you how much they've enjoyed the event or how much they're looking forward to it next year. I think like you put a lot of work into it. Sometimes there's tears, definitely a lot of stress, but when you get to the end of it, that's always really worth it, I guess. Yeah.
What was your first memory of that happening?
I think a row venture that my region ran last year that I did with Bryn, that was probably my first decent, good taste of that. It wasn't necessarily a big event, but to get some of the feedback that I got back from the kids and saying they were really looking forward to it next year was, really good to hear.
Sweet. Now, for venturers and for leaders and rovers attending the venture, they have the option to attend as a service leader or a line leader. Could you give us a bit more information in order to kind of really flesh out that difference?
So line leaders, I guess you can basically look at them as being adult venturers. They get to go on the expeditions, participate in activities with the kids, and they also camp in the same ranks as the kids. Whereas the service leaders are sort of more oriented at servicing the events. So they get to do stuff like cooking, security work, and also running the activities.
Awesome. Kate, for leaders and rovers who are potentially looking to come into the event, if apart from line leaders who have to pay for an expedition, if they choose to go on an expedition, what is a leader expected to pay?
Leaders are expected to pay $595 plus contingent fees and travel cost.
Cool. Thank you. So, Kate, you've been to New Zealand before, and you've helped run a contingent there, and also with OzVenture. What have you found the most rewarding about being part of leading an event for venturers?
Definitely creating an opportunity for venturers to attend an event and watch them grow as people through attending that event.
Is there any stories that you could think of that you've gotten being a leader at one of these events compared to attending as a youth member? Where have you experienced the event differently, but still, been able to participate and have fun?
Pre-tour, all the kids that decided to stay on site, we ran a few activities for them where I also got to participate and just get to gain the experiences of how the kids were finding pre-tour and what they're enjoying on the activities, but also just to get to know everyone and play some fun games.
Great. Thank you. Gary, you've also been to so many ventures now in Australia and overseas. What memories do you have that stand out that you've gotten as a leader that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten as a youth member?
Well, yeah, running the contingent, there's been a lot of people helping, like the deputy and the youth people. There's a few people who've gone a long way who've been on my team, Phil Brett, Kuzi, Rob Slater, both from New South Wales. Kuzi ran the contingent for Iceland for the last Rover moot. And just watching young people grow up and then going their own way and running a contingent, that really it really makes me feel really great that they've gone on over the years and done their own thing. So that part, and then you watch the normal everyday venturer who goes to a venture, and then you see them going to a moot, and before you know it, they've become a leader and they've run their own venture unit, and that's just great as well. So I see that as part of a really great building leadership and letting the young people come up in the world. And people like me will have to just step back in the background and just watch things happen. So, which is good as well.
I think plenty of people have heard the Gary Steinhardt stories from across the different ventures. And you getting amongst it, or you falling asleep in different places.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of stories about you in New Zealand specifically, and how you've had to get amongst the activities the kids have been doing when you've been a line leader. Could you maybe give light to some of those rumours?
I've got lots of stories from New Zealand, but probably one what sticks out the most would be, or two actually. One was we all, quite a few of us did bungee jumping, and I said, yeah, look, I'll do it. And I go across ready to jump and everyone's watching. And I thought, I can't chicken out now because they don't actually push you off. If you don't want to do it, they let you, come back onto they made part of the board before you jump. So it's either fail that and everyone would just look at you and think, he's chickened out. So I did that. That was probably one of the exciting part of the ventures or pre-tour. Other one was our first national venture in New Zealand. They had a wide game, and part of the rations was that there was two units had to find each other. So it was like hide and seek, and part of the rations they gave us a crate of milk and a sack of potatoes and a 20 kilo of butter. We were supposed to be hiking with that. So that was a very interesting venture, that one.
So for all the leaders attending New Zealand, they'll get the chance to participate in all the activities with the venturers?
Yeah, definitely. They'll just be one big older venturer as such, but in the leadership capacity. So yes, they definitely will be part of it, and they'll have choices to do the activities as well.
So that's pretty much the same with every. Sorry, Gary.
Well, and not just New Zealand, within Australia as well. If they are as a unit leader, and then would do the activities as well, definitely.
So Gary's had plenty of experience as a service leader, as a line leader, and going on expeditions and being with units on the actual site. Cameron and Kate, could you kind of tell us a bit more about what's rewarding about being a service leader? Like, what, apart from getting to see kids smile, what kind of skills have you learned working on a scout event that you may not have learned otherwise or in the workforce?
I think probably one of the big things for me is that I've learned from being a service leader of sorts and helping on camps is communication. You always come across a whole bunch of different adventurers, and I guess sometimes I have a sort of very linear way of communicating. I can talk very fast and all that kind of stuff, and being a service leader in those aspects has given me the skill set that I can use to talk to those people and sort of build connections, I guess, throughout Scouts as a whole.
Okay.
Having deadlines for things you're trying to organize, it just helps you keep track of everything and get things done.
Cool. There's opportunities for leader to explore things like entertainment or cooking or helping run some leader activities on site. From the different people you've talked to, this is a question to the whole panel. What things could you do as a service leader or a line leader that you wouldn't expect out of a scouting event?
I think... Gary, did you want to go?
No, that's all right. I'll let you go first. We're just all probably thinking what we're going to say. And,
probably one of the big things that I've learned is from an event, New South Wales one. So I mentioned it last week, dragon skin, but from last year's being on VOC, I think there are a lot of things that you wouldn't think that you sort of get to do. Last year I was assisting with admin, but it sort of gave me the opportunity to go out and see a whole bunch of other things. So I went around and saw a whole bunch of activity bases. I got to mingle with a whole bunch of adventurers, and it wasn't just me sitting down signing people in, but it was me sort of learning all these different things about this really big event, this fun event, and then I could practically apply them to other stuff like the Roventure we ran and all that kind of stuff.
Well, one thing sticks out with me running. It's not so much a venture, but one of the directors at our coveree, and the same principle. We had a fellow leader. She was in the service team, and her son was a cub, and he said, I'd love to help with works and services and drive buggies around all the time. And, next thing, 8 years later on, there he was as a service leader, old adventurer, helping running the service in works and services, and he was running around in a buggy. So, all things happen, and the same sort of scale at a venture as well. You see the venturers think, oh, wow, I wish I could do that. Next thing, a few years later, there they are helping you, and they get their skills up, and that's really good to watch that. Yeah.
I mean, with the coronavirus crisis, people have been stuck inside for a long time, and then going forward, they're going to have to be selective of which events to choose. Why choose a venture compared to, spending a couple of days, somewhere else, or doing a smaller camp or running your own camp?
Well, my motto is it's not where you go, it's who you're with. So it doesn't matter if you do a venture, if it's within Australia, or if you go overseas to do the expedition in New Zealand, it's the people you're with. That's the experience. So that's my motto, is not where you go, it's who you're with. So that's the experience part. Living with somebody 24/7, the reaction when they get up in the morning or go to bed late, everyone's different. So that's part of the experience as well.
Yeah. And for both you and Kate, Gary, you've been to many adventures as service leaders and line leaders. How have those friendships kind of passed on since then, or who have you met at an event as a service leader that you never would have met otherwise?
Lots of people, and I keep in contact with lots of people from world jamborees to local events, international events. You just keep on bumping into people. That's the experience.
Cool. Okay.
Xander, in a bit of turn of events here, I guess I have a question for you.
Okay.
I'm the interviewer now. I've got a special role.
Okay.
In your experience as a service leader at events like Jamboree, what's it like working on the radio station and that kind of stuff?
Ooh, well, I mean, highlight of Jamboree was definitely interviewing Justice Crew, because it was kind of, for us, we started going to Jamborees as youth members, and then we knew that like over time this whole mythos had built up of, is Justice Crew attending this year, because the pop sensation from the X Factor in its early days had been to every Jamboree for about 6 years at that stage. So as a radio show, we were building it up. Is Justice Crew going to be there? And that was a lot of fun, like creating this culture around a place which was the radio station, and getting just people excited for the smallest things, like what act is going to be on. And then even though these thousands of kids had never ever been to a lot of them had never been to a Jamboree before, yet seen Justice Crew, and probably a lot of them didn't know who Justice Crew was. We built up this massive excitement for this pop group from 10 years ago, and just seeing how scouting can come together and really support each other, and you have these crazy experiences that you just never would have thought of. Like there was this statue for a pig in the mall, and then I think there was something happened to it, got rolled over or something like that, and it got destroyed or damaged a bit. So then we had like 100 kids just around us, and we had this funeral for this pig statue that had been in the mall for half the Jamboree. Just having those experiences, it's like stuff you would never think of going to camp. Like going to camp, I never thought we would hold a funeral for a pig statue or interview these basketball players from South Australia. But, we got to meet so many different people, and things just happen spontaneously at camp. Like you could be washing dishes and someone comes past and they're like, hey, do you want to do this? Because we're going to do this. The next minute you're on a golf buggy tearing up the campsite to go meet someone who's an official person from somewhere. And it's just a really rewarding experience, and stuff's happening every single day. And I mean, it goes back to what BP said, a day on camp is like a week on camp is like a year in school.
Yeah. So simply put, I guess, could you say that being a service leader and stuff on events is really sort of life experience?
Yeah, it's just that spontaneity. Like there's responsibility there, but it's not like the monotonous waking up for work every day and going out and doing a job. There's always something happening, or there's always someone interesting or something funny going on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And yeah, if I could just butt in, if I could, I think definitely when you're in your role at the radio station, or if you're doing interviewing people, you get to cover the whole of the whole venture, because you're from this part to the other part. Or if the expedition might be photography, and you get around to look at all the expeditions. So there's all different parts of the venture. As a youth member and an adult, and who knows, things can happen after the event. You might think, gee, I could join a newspaper and become a photographer, and that could be a career, and that's a stepping stone. So the adventure is not just having fun; it can be part of your career in the future as well. Yeah,
and I think there's a lot of opportunity to do that. I'm sure a lot of you would all have seen people saying, well, if I go to help at camp, I'm just running activities or teaching kids how to tie knots. Being a service leader or line leader is far more than that.
Exactly, yeah. It's experience as well. Very, very true.
Just kind of, I guess, pulling it back from the grand scheme more to OzVenture in specifics. Kate, you've been working on New South Wales contingent a lot. We're working with the contingent. What's the contingent there to do to support a leader or a rover when they're at an event like a venture?
We're always there if you just want to talk to us or just for support. No matter what it is, you can come to us. We will always be there for you.
Cool. I guess being in the home state of New South Wales, I'm sure there's a lot of Wales people watching. Could you kind of give everyone a bit of an overview of who's in the New South Wales contingent, what people are important, or if you're at the venture, who to look out for?
Your contingent leader is Harry Lantry. Trust me, when you meet him, you'll be able to spot him anywhere in the camp. You have me as deputy contingent leader. Then first aid and welfare officer is Grace Mitchell. She's a very bubbly person. You'll all absolutely love her. Then you've got Alyssa Hukins and Toby Luck as our ambassadors for our contingent, who cool. Anyone can come up and talk to them. They're both great people.
Thank you so much for giving that kind of overview, because just with not having Dragonskin this year, a lot of venturers haven't had the chance to connect with their contingent the same way other states have, because both Vertigo and Dragonskin got wiped out due to exterior events. For venturers who may want to know a bit more about the Victorian contingent, Gary, who's, for Leaders and Rovers more specifically, who can they reach out to in the Victorian contingent to find out more?
Yeah, sure. We've got Rowan Lambert, who's the contingent leader, and Duncan McCoy, who's the State Commissioner for Ventures. He's the deputy, and there is quite a few youth members. All of them are always there to help. You can always ask me, and I can pass on to who to talk to. So there is quite a few people in the team who are very welcome to be able to help you with any information you want to know.
Awesome. And just for leaders who are planning on being a line leader and they're going to New Zealand or a more a broad expedition, whether that's Northern Territories or Tasmania, once they get to the airport, is there any travel they have to worry about after that point? Like, do they have to worry about getting from the expedition back to the camp, or do we organise all of that, Gary?
Well, we organise everything. They virtually don't have to do a thing. Just pack their bags, make sure they've got the right clothing and equipment, and we'll take care of the rest. And the home state where they come from will get them back to whatever state they come from. So that's all they need to worry about.
It's a dream. It's paradise.
It definitely is. Yeah, for sure.
Final question of the show. Thanks so much for all being on. What are you most looking forward to about the venture? What excites you about this venture that you may have not seen at a camp before, or what makes OzVenture different for you?
I think for me, at least, as I've pointed out, I've never been to a venture before. So for me, this is something I've never experienced. I've been to a jamboree way back in 2013 when I was a child. So it'll be a really good experience for me to sort of see, how a venture jamboree operates. And I'm, really looking forward to it.
So you remember Justice Crew as well?
Oh, I remember Justice Crew. They were the highlight of my AJ 13. Never forget Justice Crew ever.
Never forget. Kate, what are you looking forward to about OzVenture?
I'm just looking forward to the whole experience. I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for everybody.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining the show. And Gary, what are you most looking forward to about OzVenture?
I'm just looking forward that it's going to happen. It's been up and down, a big jigsaw. So once I can actually see it happening, I'll be really thrilled for the organising team and Dave as Chief Director. It's been good. Oh, also, I've got a giveaway too, if I may.
Yes.
Okay, the giveaway is I've got some contingent towels from our last venture. So I've got 10 towels to give away.
Okay.
Great qualities. So 10 people, if they put down that they've spoken or they heard me on this cast and applied to go to the venture, we'll send you out a towel. Okay.
Okay. So
and the tent's still going ahead as well. If that will be drawn in the near future, but we've got 10 towels to give away.
So to clarify, if you've signed up to the venture and either referred a friend or signing up because you've been referred by a friend, make sure you put that in to your registration details so that you can either win a tent from Snowgum, which is a good quality Australian brand, or you can win one of 10 towels. So Gary, they're are they high absorbent? Are they great for camp? Are they lightweight? Are they
like great beach towels, actually?
Great beach towels.
Yes, beach towels. So I've got, and they're all brand new, of course. So 10 towels to give away. Okay. Watch this space to see what's next.
Thank you. We'll get you back on the show soon. Thank you for joining us again, Cameron. Thank you for joining us for the first time, Kate. Sorry if we didn't get to your questions. We'll reply to them below. Have a great night. Next week, we'll be talking about Whit Sundays. We'll cover everything we can, the program, the cost, what is there to be interested in far north Queensland. Sign up now. Thank you so much for joining the show, and make sure you buy merch. It's online now. And we also have got battery banks and some new merch options coming in the next few days. So please sign up, and thank you for watching OZV Live. Bye.